So as I mentioned before, I use, or I should say, I treat my papers with an alum solution before I do the Suminagashi technique. This allows the inks to absorb more intensely, I would say, and I really like the results. I feel that the inks come out a little bit stronger, the blacks are blacker, and it just really helps me get the result that I want. So in this video, take a look at the ratio of alum to water, how I go about treating the papers, and it might inspire you to give this technique a try too. I hope it does. Let me know what you think. So, as I mentioned before, as much as I love the pale shades of gray that traditional Suminagashi creates, I was always searching for something that would bring out darker contrasts. And because I'm just a big lover of black and black inks and making things look really striking in my artwork. So I came across this concept of using alum in a solution as they do with other traditional marbling techniques. Alum, or aluminum potassium sulfate, is a natural occurring mineral. You can sometimes pick it up in your local pharmacy or in your natural food section. Sometimes you find it in a small block. People can use it as a deodorant, I've seen. This could be crushed up and used into a powder. I put it between some type of towel and just hammer it into bits. But you can also find a powder version as well. This substance is often used in natural dyeing and in marbling. It's a mordant, so it's going to help the natural dyes adhere to these cellulose fibers, the cottons, the rice paper. Now, it really just helps absorb the ink. And I thought, why not try this? Probably people have been doing it with Suminagashi, but in the reading that I've seen, it's not a traditional method. Normally in Suminagashi, you use a plain piece of rice paper and the ink. But again, I was determined to get out some of these blacks, so I experimented a little bit with ratios, and I've come up with a alum water ratio that I think works really well for treating your papers before you do Suminagashi. So what I have here is roughly a 1/3 cup or 40 grams of alum powder, and I'm just going to put it in a little container. And I'm going to add 2 cups or about 480 milliliters of warm water. And you do need it warm to dissolve the alum. I've noticed when the temperature shifts here in the winter, my solution will kind of not gel up, but it tends to crystallize. So I just put it back on the stove, heat it up for a few minutes, and that usually gets it right back into a solution type or liquid form. So just one more time, I want to go over quickly some of my absolute favorite papers to use for Suminagashi. And when I do the alum treatment, I usually start with the white, untreated, and undyed papers first. Because if I were to start with the blue or the tea-dyed stained ones, that liquid can oftentimes rub off my brush, go into the liquid, and kind of tint the liquid and start changing that color, and I never will have like a bright white to work with. So to ensure that I always have a few bright white ones to work with, because I like doing that, I start out with these guys first. So we have tissue paper. When I treat that, I always pay attention. There seems to always be kind of a shinier side, and you can feel it. So I always make sure that I'm putting the layer on the top here where it's more absorbent and it doesn't have that kind of shiny feeling to it. I have an old book page. I have some drywall paper kind of stuff. I loved using tea bags that have not been filled yet, the ones that you can just buy, the tea filters. These have been taken apart. They were square and I just slowly opened them. This is the Japanese rice paper. You can find this in different sizes and weights. This seems to be very fine, but somehow it still holds together nicely. Again, a nice cotton paper that's handmade. I don't know, it just absorbs it so wonderfully. I love doing a few of these always. And one of the fun things I found are these coffee filters. They have a great absorbency to them. And you may be able to find them in a brighter white. I don't mind these kind of tan beige ones. They're kind of fun to work with. I'm going to take a few pieces away here and I'll just start doing the wash. I put it on a surface that I know can handle a liquid, so I wouldn't do this right on some wood. I actually have some garbage bags down on another table beside me. I'll be doing more layers on that one. And I just make sure it's all nice and soaked. You might feel a few crystals in there, but that's okay. You can brush them off later or just let them be. And then I just leave it here because I just don't want to touch it. I make sure that I have enough space on my table. Lower it down to just become transparent. And I'm going to do 2 layers. So I do this first layer, wait for it to dry, depending on the temperature of your room or the season you're in. It could take a day or 2. It's pretty hot here today, so I might get these done in the evening again and put another layer on. Let's see how it goes. And again, I'm just gonna put a piece down. It's already soaking up some water here. And just make sure it all gets nice and covered. So the first coat has dried and there's a stiffness to them, which is fine. Again, you might feel a little bit of crystallization on the top, but that's fine too. And I'm just gonna put on a second coat. You might find that they stick a little bit at the beginning to the surface you're applying them to here. But if you just let them dry, if you have a little bit of patience, you might have to tear at the edges a little bit, but I've been able to get them all up pretty easily. So I went ahead and treated the other papers as well with 2 washes of the alum solution, and they have dried and they are pretty much ready, well, entirely ready to use for Suminagashi technique now. They have a bit of a texture to them when they dry. You'll notice there's a grittiness to them. I try and keep them face up where I put the layer on, although it absorbs all the way through. They become completely soaked with the solution. So I'm not sure if it completely matters if you know which side you treated as the top, but I like to keep tabs on it just so I have a better idea, and I'm certain that this top layer got a good soaking of the alum solution. So I usually put these back into some plastic sleeves, and I store them in a place like a drawer where they won't be exposed to a lot of light, because as we know, these types of dyes are not very light fast. So you can see even the avocado dye is shifting, which I like. It's unexpected. You never know what's going to happen. So it is hard to control, but kind of delightful too, because it's just full of surprises there. The tea bag is still holding on with some nice rusty golden colors, and I'm just really looking forward to playing with these in the next video.